Ghost in the Machine by Patrick Harmon. Wednesday, September 22nd, 5 a.m. I zonked out for a couple of hours. Then, when I woke up, I refused to look behind that poster again. Sarah emailed me, pretty upset. She wasn't too keen on the long email after we agreed not to take chances, but then she said it was nearly impossible not to email each other. She was doing it too. Just be careful, she said. Delete, delete, delete. Our relationship doesn't exist. I hate the sound of that. Our relationship doesn't exist. Have my parents won? Sarah's email went on and got a little better. Talk about breaking her own rules. I'm almost never seen her write this much. Maybe she misses me after all. I think your idea with the window at Longhorns is perfect. No one's up there at night, especially around that backside in the weeds, so it should work. I can already imagine the questions if Bonner catches me walking up the street with a ladder at midnight. That's not even something I want to think about. Let's see, 4 a.m. right now. I've been getting on by almost no sleep lately. I think the detective in me thinks early morning is the safest time or something. Either way, I'm wide awake, so I'll haul one of my dad's old ladders up there in the next hour and hide it in the brush behind Longhorns. Not that anyone is going behind Longhorns to find it. I have a feeling that Crow is going to move again soon. Crossbone members probably check it every day, right? If that's true, then it sure would be nice to watch and see who takes a particular interest in it today. Or maybe we could see someone actually moving that birdie. Wouldn't that be something? If we knew who that was, we'd be one step closer. I need you to do something for me. There's a perfect spot downtown at the cafe. If you sit at the corner table, there's a nice view of the library right across the street. Just go in there with your journal or something and tell them you had to get out of the house. Marla won't care. She knows your mom, so I'm pretty sure she'll be happy you're out of the house. Just sit there and drink coffee and eat pie and scribble. I think someone will move the signal while I'm at school. There are only a few days before they burn down the dredge. Whoever is in the Crossbones can't wait much longer. They're just as interested in the dredge as we are. We just don't know why. And Gladys knows I'm snooping around. So does Bonner. They're watching me as much as I'm watching them. I think they'll move it while I'm at school, so I can't see it happen. Let's try to be as safe as we can. Every one of these emails is an invitation to get caught. Leave me a note at the Blue Rock and let me know what you find out. I'll stop there on my way home and check. If there's anything interesting, I'll leave you a note on the rock and we'll go from there. Sorry to send you running around, but if we're as close to some sort of Crossbones event as I think we are, we need to be extra careful. Hang in there. Have a slice of pie for me. Delete, delete, delete. Sarah. I'm actually sort of excited about getting out of my room. I don't like it in here anymore. Wednesday, September 22nd, 10 a.m. I'm sitting at the cafe all by myself. I just got here. Right after I deleted Sarah's email, I went back to bed. The sun was coming up, which made me feel safer. That whole vampire thing is so right on. Darkness and evil go together like sprinkles on cupcakes. It's amazing how much calmer I am when it's light. Anyway, I didn't want to wake up until an hour ago, and then I went downstairs and discovered that my dad had decided to stay home from work and spend the day with Henry. Henry, is leaving tomorrow. My dad took all of last week off from work. He was supposed to take this week off too, but according to him, the place was falling apart. My dad has worked for the same company since before I was born. He's a maintenance mechanic at a paper mill, which means he works on a gigantic metal machine with a lot of moving parts. The machine is worth a lot of money. If it breaks down, it's a big deal. The problem is my dad has been there so long, everyone else is younger or less experienced than he is with this dinosaur of a machine. So if it rattles or shakes funny, everyone freaks out and they call my dad. It's amazing they lasted a week, he said when I was down on the porch. Took 2 days just to calm everyone down, but I still have time for a Cabela's run. Yes, Dad had that sporting goods gleam in his eye. I mean, at Cabela's, the fishing section alone is bigger than some of the lakes I've been on. You should come with us, said Henry. He was wearing a cowboy hat that I hadn't seen before. Where'd you get that hat? I asked. Henry took it off and examined it with some pride. Yard sale, $2. Can you believe that? Did you wash it? Henry looked at the cowboy hat as if he hadn't thought of that, but probably should have. Then he set it on his knee and looked back at me for an answer about whether or not I was going with them. I'm not sure I can walk that much, I lied. A trip to Cabela's sounded amazing, and I totally could have done it. But I might walk downtown and back. My dad piped in. I'm glad to hear you're at least thinking of getting outside. That room of yours is starting to smell funny. The truth is, and this was actually okay with me, I could tell my dad wanted a few hours alone with his best friend on his last day in town. I could understand how important it was, even if he didn't. You guys have a good time, I said. Don't spend too much of my college fund. I knew as well as my dad did how easy it was to blow months of savings at Cabela's in a matter of hours. Dad's timing seemed to be working out really well for me since I was supposed to be watching the crow all day from the vantage point of the cafe. But then Henry went inside to run a dish rag around the rim of his new cowboy hat, and my dad and I were left alone on the porch. He sipped his coffee and set the cup on the folding card table that had seen more action on the front porch in the past week than it had in the previous year. "How's that leg doing? You ready for school?" he asked. He didn't sound like he was going to badger me about Sarah, so I played along. "I think I'll be okay. Seeing some of my friends will be nice. It's getting a little old being home every day." "I'm glad to hear it. Sitting around Skeleton Creek will get you nowhere." He picked up his cup and looked at the drawing on the side. My dad is very fond of a good coffee cup, and this one, I have to admit, was my favorite. It was white with an old Far Side cartoon on it where two deer are standing together, and one of them has a big red bullseye on its chest. The one without the bullseye looks at this poor deer and says, "Bummer of a birthmark." I was thinking how clever this was when my dad said, "Let me see your phone." He knew I kept it with me a lot of the time, and there was no point trying to hide the fact that I had just had it then, so I gave it to him. He had become a lot savvier with phones and computers in the past few weeks. The accident seemed to wake him up to the fact that he needed to know what was going on or risk missing something that might get me killed. In a weird way, this made me feel loved, like he was willing to put in some effort in order to protect me from myself. But like I've been saying all along, I'm 2 steps ahead of my dad when it comes to stuff like this. Every teenager is. Most parents, even ones like mine that are actually trying to keep up, are perpetually behind. He touched some of the buttons, obviously checking it for text messages from Sarah and callback numbers. I'd gotten plenty of calls from other friends I wasn't close to but stayed in contact with anyway. But he wasn't going to find anything from Sarah. I was surprised when he held the phone to his ear. He was using my phone to call someone. No one answered, so he hung up and handed the phone back to me. "No one's home at Sarah's," he said. If she had been there, she would have picked up. Caller ID would have told her it was my cell phone. It's a lucky thing she was gone. He dug into his back pocket and pulled out a fat wallet. This is one of the old school things I like about my dad. I love his old jeans and the prehistoric leather belt that holds them up. But this wallet, I don't know. It seems like the sort of thing I'd never carry. It's shaped funny, like it's been sat on for 20 years. Its worn leather is dark in the middle and lighter on the edges. And when my dad opens it up, there are all kinds of treasures in there. Pieces of paper that I don't know where, notes about forgotten things, faded pictures of me and Mom, pennies and nickels that have left round marks in the leather. "Here," he said, handing me a 20 with a fold in one corner. "Get yourself a new shirt while you're downtown. Might come in handy for school." Henry burst onto the porch with the hat back on his head, all excited about getting on the road. He wanted to be back before 2 o'clock so they could fish the creek one last time. Dad finished up his coffee and soon they were gone in my dad's pickup, leaving the house empty except for me. I stayed on the porch, afraid to go up the stairs to my room. I was starting to hate my room. I finally got the nerve to enter the house. It should have been no big deal climbing the stairs, but I took it real slow and quiet, like something bad might happen if I was too loud. Slowly I headed up the stairs, cursing every creaking step until I reached the top. I looked down the hall and thought about searching my dad's room again, but I didn't have the guts to do it. Once was enough. I gathered a couple of journals, some pens, and a copy of Edgar Allan Poe's best short stories. I felt in my pocket for the 20 my dad had handed me. That, I figured, should buy me plenty of pie and coffee.